going on, world? Peace and blessings. Appreciate you tuning in today. Make sure you check out last week's episode, The Exploitation of Black Trauma. So today, I have a very interesting topic, and it's something that I think is very relevant to the time, and that is the 2016 presidential election. And with this upcoming 2020 election this fall, this is probably the most important election that we've ever had. I know we say it every year, but every year it becomes pretty more pivotal. And I know a lot of people, the 2016 election was very emotional and triggering for some. It did not go the way I know many people expected it to go. For some people, it did go how they expected. But regardless of the fact, I know a lot of people harbor a lot of feelings about it. And I know a lot of people have blamed like solely the Russians for the reason that Donald Trump won. However, there are a lot of campaign flaws and mishandling of the Democratic Party throughout the entire process that I think definitely led to Trump's winning the election. And if these issues and things are not resolved or examined, they're going to have the same exact results again. So let's first start with the elephant in the room, the Russian collusion, right? So one thing we can all agree upon is that did the Russian government infiltrate our past election? Yes. Now, I know a lot of people hear that and they, yep, Trump, Russia, yep, that's it. Again, there's a big difference between Russian interference and Russian collusion. Now, the latter part of that question is, did the Russian government and the Trump administration collude? The answer to that question is no. Now, I know for years after election, there was this large narrative push that the only and sole reason that the Donald Trump won the election was due to him colluding actively with the Russian government, and that's the only reason he won, because he colluded with the Russians. And then for the Mueller report, what he investigated for 2 years of the whole Russian interference in our election, the Mueller report concluded that there was no evidence that the Trump campaign colluded with the Russian government. So that whole narrative went out the window. Now, to be fair and unbiased, the Mueller report also did not completely exonerate or say that he was innocent. However, it definitely did not say that he was guilty. So a lot of people kind of push this whole thing like it was a slam dunk, unequivocally, Trump colluded with the Russians. And that wasn't the case. That was honestly propaganda. So with that being said, right, knowing now that it was not the Russians. Now, to be fair, did the Russians definitely want Donald Trump to win the election over Hillary Clinton? Sure, absolutely. But that wasn't the final push that decided the election. So, again, I know a lot of people as well have looked at the popular vote, right? For example, Hillary Clinton, she had over 65.8 million votes to Donald Trump's 62.9 million votes, right? So almost like a 2.5, 3 million discrepancy of votes, right? And a lot of people are thinking, well, how can she won the popular vote but lost the election? But we must keep in mind as well, the election is decided on the Electoral College, in which Donald Trump won 306 to 232. So definitely a large discrepancy in that capacity. And for the record, this isn't the first time that somebody has won the popular vote but lost the Electoral College. Just over 20 years ago, in 2000 election with Al Gore and George Bush, Al Gore had won the popular vote and lost the Electoral College. And this has also previously happened on 4 other occasions. Now, they were a long time ago, but there is precedent for this. So let's look at that popular vote, though, because that number is kind of inflated. I know a lot of people saw, well, more votes. Well, for example, Hillary Clinton, she did pretty well in a lot of highly populated states, in which that's why that number was so high. For example, in California, she had 8.7 million votes to Trump's 4.4 million votes. So just in California alone, Hillary Clinton had almost like 4 million more votes. I look at New York City, Hillary Clinton, 4.5. The Trump's 2.8 million votes, right? So again, almost 2 million discrepancy there. And even in states that like she lost, she also did pretty well in votes. So for example, like in Florida, Trump won with 4.6 million votes to Hillary Clinton's 4.5 million votes. So, she did pretty well even in states that she didn't actually win and get the electoral votes from. So that number gets kind of inflated. But at the same time, the Electoral College, the reason why Trump won so handily, it's pretty simple. He won 30 states to Hillary Clinton's 20 states. He won 10 more states. Like that did happen. So again, that wasn't the Russians in that aspect. That was something that happened with the American people voting. And also, a lot of people oftentimes like point out this whole third party and try to blame Jill Stein or Gary Johnson and say, oh, those people vote third party, vote for Trump. And then, like, no. Even if Hillary Clinton received all the third party votes, she still loses the electoral college 276 to 259. It's closer, but she still loses. So that whole narrative as well isn't true. Now, one aspect I think people didn't look at in this, I want to talk about campaign flaws. So Hillary Clinton and stuff didn't run the cleanest campaign. So, for example, one thing that was very pivotal in this election, which a lot of people did not realize or allocate, was Trump was able to turn 6 states blue red. That means there are 6 states: Pennsylvania, Ohio, Florida, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Iowa. Right? In 2012, they all voted for Barack Obama. In 2016, they voted for Donald Trump. So those 6 states turned from Democrat to Republican, which was not a lot of people's calculus. This is why it was such a shocking victory. Also, by the way, it's very interesting that this narrative that all Trump supporters are just like white supremacist racists, but over 6 million people voted for Barack Obama in 2012, then voted for Donald Trump in 2016. Interesting. Take it how you want, but just a very interesting point. With that being said, in part of those 6 states that swing, Wisconsin. Okay. So Hillary Clinton literally did not campaign in Wisconsin, didn't step foot there, a pivotal swing state. I know she tried to blame it on voter suppression and governor, but she also didn't campaign there. So was that the Russians that made her not campaign in Wisconsin? Or look at a state like West Virginia, in which she also lost. Earlier in the campaign, Hillary Clinton came out and said that she's going to make her mission to close down the coal mining industry and that whole organization. And then went to West Virginia, basically got booed out the state. A large coal mining state. So did the Russians make Hillary Clinton go to a coal mining state and say she's going to close down the coal mines, which is their main like aspect of infrastructure and financial means? So of course, like that's a bad campaign flaw. You don't say that in all these places. So that's a factor as well that a lot of people don't talk about. And then for herself, look, she had a little shaky campaign. I know some people with his emails and some people have tried to brush it off as like a nothing burger. It's not a nothing burger. These 30,000 plus emails, to set a timeline up, Hillary Clinton was on an investigation from the Benghazi investigation from the House Committee, Senate Intelligence, and essentially she was subpoenaed because they found out that she had a private email server, which she was using to use for like government and related emails on the private server at her house, which you can't do because like government related emails, that's like a big national security risk if it's not like a secure server. So Hillary Clinton was subpoenaed, right? Hillary Clinton gets subpoenaed. After being subpoenaed, she deletes over 30,000 plus emails. And it's very important because at first she tried to say she did it beforehand, but then FBI was investigating, found out that she deleted emails after she was subpoenaed. Now, she tried to say that these emails are all personal in nature. Okay. It may be personal in nature, like she said, such as like her yoga routine or planning for her daughter's wedding. Yet, you don't use a software which he called BleachBit, which essentially deletes all traces of evidence off a computer to a point where like a forensic analysis can't even go through and find it. You don't really have to use that for personal information, just as like yoga routines and stuff like that. And after, of course, being subpoenaed, then you decide to do this. It wasn't something like, oh, I normally delete emails. Like, no, this is after being subpoenaed by the FBI that she got to decide to go ahead and delete 30,000 emails using a software which makes it unrecoverable. In addition to that, several of her staffers also literally smashed her cell phones with a hammer that also had access to this private email server as well. That really did happen. In addition as well, some of her staffers took the fifth in testifying. So it's a bit of a shady situation, and of course, I'm not going to act like, though, of course, she didn't get prosecuted eventually, but the fact that right before the election as well, her husband, former President Bill Clinton, met with the former Attorney General at the time, Laura Lynch, and had a private meeting on a tarmac in an airplane, and then after that random meeting, of course, the charges against Hillary Clinton were not pursued. Yeah, okay. All I'm saying is there's a lot of shadiness with that. And just in general, though, like even for Trump got over $5 billion in free advertising and marketing throughout that whole presidential election. $5 billion. whether that was good or bad, the fact that people were always constantly, consistently talking about him, it made him relevant. $5 billion in free advertising. So all those like never Trump, anti-Trump people, like, yeah, y'all also had a hand in getting him elected as well. You're also susceptible in that because you just kept talking about making relevant instead of shutting up and letting him just fall into oblivion. So that's the reason, partly. And again, look at those states that Trump won as well. A lot of those Rust Belt. Again, his whole message was about bringing jobs back to the silent majority and forgotten class. So we look all those things combined, and also collectively with the flaws of the Democratic Party, it made sense of how we got these results. So what I'm saying is, moving forward, the Democratic Party need to realize these things. They need to make sure they're more in touch and more in tune. Have to do a lot better with polling. They get more accurate and more realistic results. And we follow that recipe. Who knows what will happen? However, right now, the way they're going and what the candidate they have, it doesn't seem like the results are going to be any different. So again, I think it's very important to understand and see that why it wasn't just as simply the Russians, and that's the sole only reason that the Russians don't interfere, then we win an election again. No, that's not the case at all. And if you're betting on that strategy, you're going to have the same results again. So again, I'm independent moderate. I ain't going to tell you who to vote for, not to vote for. Do it on your own. But I'm just trying to bring this information to light that a lot of people have seemed to ignore from some type of emotional bias over the years. So yeah, definitely was real credence of how she lost. It was not just the Russians. There's a real kind of recipe for how Donald Trump won. So anyways, we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's my spiel. Appreciate you tuning in. Stay tuned next week. Until then, stay safe, stay tuned, stay connected.